The impossible before history. Long before history had a name, before blueprints, before electricity, before modern science believed itself to be born, machines already existed. Not myths, not legends, not metaphors. Machines, devices of metal, stone, crystal, and precision, found buried beneath civilizations that, according to textbooks, should not have been capable of building them. Yet they exist. They were discovered. They were examined. And then they were ignored, dismissed, or quietly explained away. Because their existence breaks something fundamental. If these machines are real, then human history is wrong. Not slightly wrong, completely wrong. Our story begins not with a question, but with an assumption. That ancient people were primitive. That progress is linear. That technology evolves slowly, step by step. But the machines we are about to explore do not fit that model. They appear suddenly, fully formed, highly advanced, with no visible prototypes, as if knowledge appeared and then vanished. The problem with impossible machines. Modern engineers, when shown these artifacts, often react the same way. Silence, then disbelief, then a quiet admission. This shouldn't be here. Some of these machines demonstrate precision machining beyond hand tools. Mechanical principles rediscovered only in the last 300 years. Metallurgy that defies known ancient methods. Astronomical calculations embedded into physical devices. And most unsettling of all, they show intentional design. Not decorative, not symbolic. Functional, purpose-driven, built to do something. The first rule of lost technology. Whenever an ancient machine is found, 3 explanations are usually offered. It's misinterpreted. It's ceremonial. It's ahead of its time, but accidental. Yet, when we examine them closely, none of these explanations survive. Ceremonial objects do not require gear ratios, differential mechanisms, bearing systems, predictive calculations. Accidents do not produce repeatable engineering principles. And misinterpretation cannot explain functionality. A machine that performs a measurable task is not a mystery. It is a fact. The Antikythera Mechanism, a machine out of time. In 1901, Greek sponge divers made a discovery that would quietly shake science. At the bottom of the Aegean Sea, inside a Roman-era shipwreck, they found corroded bronze fragments. At first, it was dismissed as junk. But when the fragments were cleaned, gears emerged. Not simple gears, interlocking bronze gears, with teeth cut at precise angles, arranged in layered assemblies. This was not medieval technology. This was not even Renaissance technology. This was something else entirely. Modern analysis revealed that the Antikythera mechanism was capable of predicting solar eclipses, tracking planetary motion, modeling lunar anomalies, calculating astronomical cycles decades in advance. In other words, it was an analog computer, built over 2,000 years ago. And here's the problem. No other machine like it appears again for over 1,300 years. No evolutionary trail. No earlier prototypes. No later copies. It appears, and then disappears, as if someone knew how to build it, and then no one did. Engineering without a workshop. To create the Antikythera mechanism, ancient engineers needed precision metal casting, standardized gear ratios, mathematical models of planetary motion, a conceptual understanding of differential gearing. Differential gears were invented again in the 16th century. So how did the ancients know? More importantly, who taught them? The silence in the record. No ancient texts describe how such machines were built. No blueprints. No instruction manuals. No workshops. Which suggests one terrifying possibility. The knowledge already existed, long before the Greeks found it. They may not have invented the machine. They may have inherited it. Machines buried by time. The Antikythera mechanism is not alone. Across the world, machines appear in the archaeological record that share the same pattern. Sudden appearance. Advanced design. No technological ancestors. Abrupt disappearance. From South America to India, to Egypt, to China, These machines suggest something we are not ready to admit. That civilization did not rise once. It rose, collapsed, and rose again. And each time, fragments of its technology survived. The dangerous question: if ancient people built machines equal or superior to early modern technology, what destroyed that knowledge? War? Cataclysm? Flood? Fire? Or something else entirely? Because machines do not simply vanish. They're broken, melted, reused, or hidden, and sometimes they are deliberately erased. What you are about to hear. This series is not speculation. Every machine discussed was physically discovered, was examined by experts, was dated using accepted methods, and yet their implications are never discussed openly, because to accept them means rewriting the origin of engineering, the timeline of science, the story of human intelligence, and possibly the story of our past civilizations. This is the story of the machines that should not exist, but do. Egypt's machines of precision. When people imagine ancient Egypt, they picture monuments, stone, statues, tombs. They do not picture machines. Yet Egypt is saturated with mechanical precision. Precision that should not be possible using copper chisels, wooden mallets, and sand. And the deeper researchers look, the more mechanical the civilization appears. Not symbolic, not ceremonial, mechanical. Stone that behaves like metal. At first glance, Egyptian stonework appears decorative. But under magnification, something disturbing emerges. Perfectly flat surfaces, parallel cuts, circular bore marks, consistent tool chatter. These are not random. They're the fingerprints of machines. Modern machinists examining core drill marks in granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth. Notice something impossible. The spiral grooves match high-speed rotary drilling. Not hand drilling, not bow drills. Rotational drilling with control pressure and constant torque. Granite contains quartz. Quartz rates 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Copper is 3. Copper cannot cut granite. Not cleanly, not repeatedly, not with precision. Yet the holes exist. Thousands of them. The lathe theory no one wants to discuss. Certain Egyptian artifacts show unmistakable signs of lathe work. Bowls, vases, sarcophagus lids, perfect symmetry along a central axis, uniform wall thickness, mirror-like polish. This is rotational machining, the kind performed by lathes. But a lathe requires bearings, stable rotation, controlled cutting tools, consistent power input. Where's the lathe? Official explanations say skilled hand craftsmanship, but hands do not produce. Micron-level symmetry, concentric tool marks, mathematical precision. Machines do. The granite boxes of the Serapeum. Beneath the sands of Saqqara lies the Serapeum, a subterranean complex housing massive granite boxes. Each box weighs over 70 tons. Each is carved from a single block of granite. But weight is not the mystery. Precision is. The internal corners are razor-sharp. The internal surfaces are flatter than modern architectural standards. Modern engineers measured them. Deviation, less than 0.01 millimeters. Achieved inside a sealed underground chamber with supposedly primitive tools. No modern workshop could easily reproduce this. And Egypt did it repeatedly. The machine marks everyone ignores. Along the walls of certain Egyptian temples, strange markings appear. Parallel grooves, overlapping arcs, consistent depth. They resemble saw marks. Not hand saws, circular saws, large diameter, mechanically driven saws. The kerf width implies a blade reinforced with something harder than copper. Possibly corundum, diamond, or an unknown composite. But such materials require advanced processing. Again, the machine is missing, but the result remains. Power without electricity. Critics argue, even if machines existed, where did the power come from? A false assumption. Machines do not require electricity. They require energy. Egypt had access to flowing water, wind, counterweights, mechanical advantage systems. Evidence of water-lifting devices appears early in Egyptian history. If water could be lifted, it could also be used to turn shafts. And machines follow. The Dendera relief, symbol or device. In the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a controversial relief appears. It shows a bulb-like object, a serpent inside, a cable-like structure, a base resembling an insulator. Official interpretation, mythology. But engineers see something else. A closed system, a contained element, a power source or illumination device. No soot marks appear on the ceilings of Egyptian tombs. No residue from torches. How were deep chambers illuminated? Mirrors alone cannot explain it. Something else was used. Something controlled. Something technological. Standardization means industry. Egyptian stone blocks are standardized, not roughly similar. Identical. This suggests measurement systems, templates, reproducible processes, which implies workshops, and workshops imply machines. Yet none are described in texts, which raises a disturbing idea. The machines were not considered remarkable. They were already ancient, a civilization built on inheritance. What if Egypt did not invent its technology? What if it inherited fragments from a civilization that came before? A civilization destroyed by flood, or fire, or something far worse. The Egyptians themselves spoke of a time called Zep Tepi, the first time, an age when the gods ruled, and knowledge was complete. Perhaps gods was their word for something else, something advanced. The pattern repeats. Advanced machines appear. They are used. They are revered. Then they vanish. Later generations copy the results, but not the methods. Stone replaces metal. Imitation replaces mastery. And history forgets. But the machines leave scars. Marks that cannot lie. The question no one answers. If Egypt could machine stone like metal, what else could it build? And where did that knowledge come from? Because civilizations do not leap thousands of years ahead overnight, unless they are continuing a story already written. India's machines of war and automation. Long before steel factories, long before steam engines, long before modern physics defined force and energy, India described machines, not metaphorical machines, not spiritual allegories, mechanical devices, detailed, functional, deadly. They appear in texts dismissed as myth. But myths do not contain engineering schematics. The Vimanas, flying machines in ancient texts. Ancient Indian scriptures speak of Vimanas, flying vehicles, metallic, self-moving, capable of vertical ascent, hovering, and long-distance travel. Descriptions include multiple power sources, internal chambers, rotational propulsion systems, mercury-based engines. The Vaimanika Shastra goes further. It describes materials used in construction, methods of assembly, pilot training, weapons systems, flight physics. This is not poetry. This is technical language. Critics say the text is symbolic, yet symbolism does not specify. Alloy compositions, heat management, directional control. Mercury, the forbidden element. Mercury appears repeatedly in ancient Indian engineering texts, not as decoration, as a working fluid. Mercury has unique properties: high density, low vapor pressure, conductivity, ability to create rotational force when heated. Modern engineers recognize it as suitable for gyroscopic stabilization, closed-cycle propulsion, energy transfer systems. Why would ancient authors focus on Mercury? Unless it was used? Machines of war that sound uncomfortably modern. The Mahabharata describes weapons that emit blinding light, create shockwaves, poison land for generations, cause hair and nails to fall out. After their use, survivors bathe in water to cleanse radiation-like effects. This does not resemble swords or arrows. It resembles high-energy weapons, and they are deployed for machines, automated temples, and self-moving doors. Ancient Indian temples reportedly contained doors that open on their own, statues that moved, sound-activated mechanisms, hidden gear systems. Greek visitors to India recorded such devices with astonishment. Later, Similar machines appear in Hellenistic engineering. Not invented, imported. The mechanical men of King Boja. Texts describe Yintra Purusha, mechanical beings. Automatons, constructed to guard temples and treasures. Powered by internal mechanisms. Capable of movement and response. This is not fantasy. Ancient Greece and China also described automatons, but India described them early. Very early. The blueprints were hidden. Why do we not find these machines today? Because texts warn. Certain knowledge was restricted, reserved for initiates, dangerous in the wrong hands. After wars, invasions, and fires, libraries burned, workshops were destroyed, the machines were dismantled, but the descriptions survived. The problem with dismissal. Skeptics say, if these machines existed, we would find remains. But machines are melted, recycled, repurposed, especially in times of collapse. Stone survives, metal does not. Yet traces remain. Strange alloys. Unusual isotopic ratios. Ancient mercury deposits. Whispers of lost industry. A global parallel. At the same time, India described flying machines. South America carved impossible stone. Egypt machined granite. China built mechanical clocks. Different cultures. Same era. Same leap. Independent invention or shared inheritance. The technological ceiling. Ancient texts speak of a time when knowledge peaked, then declined, not evolved, collapsed. The machines described are not primitive beginnings. They're advanced endings, the remnants of something far older. The most dangerous idea. If ancient civilizations possessed advanced machines, then progress is not guaranteed. It can be lost. And if it was lost before, it can be lost again. China's forgotten age of machines. While Europe slept through centuries of stagnation, China engineered devices that would not appear in the West for over 1,000 years. Not incremental tools. Machines. Complex. Purpose-built. Systematic. And like all forbidden knowledge, much of it vanished. The machine that heard earthquakes. In the year 132 AD, a man named Zhang Heng built a device unlike anything the world had ever seen. A bronze vessel. Inside it, a hidden mechanical system. Around the outside, 8 dragon heads. Each dragon held a bronze ball. When an earthquake occurred, one ball dropped, not randomly, precisely from the dragon facing the quake's direction. No electricity, no sensors, no electronics, just mechanics. This machine could detect earthquakes hundreds of kilometers away. Modern seismology would not rediscover this principle for 1,700 years. And yet, Zhang Heng's device worked. The internal mechanism remains unknown. No diagram survived. The machine vanished. Mechanical astronomy. Chinese astronomers did not merely observe the sky. They modeled it. Mechanical star globes rotated to represent celestial motion. Water-powered mechanisms turned gears at regulated speeds. This required escapement-like systems, flow regulation, gear trains. Escapement mechanisms were invented in medieval Europe. China had them centuries earlier. The south-pointing chariot, a wheeled vehicle, no magnet, no compass, yet one figure atop always pointed south, no matter how the vehicle turned. This required a differential gear system, the same principle used in modern automobiles. Europe would not rediscover differential gearing until the 18th century. China used it openly, then forgot it. Repeating crossbows and mechanized war. Chinese engineers developed repeating crossbows, trigger mechanisms, mechanical firing systems. Some models fired continuously. Others used gravity-fed magazines. These were not individual weapons. They were production machines. Standardized. Mass-produced. Industry. The lost clockwork empire. In the 11th century, Su Song built a clock tower. Over 30 feet tall. Water-powered. Driven by an advanced escapement mechanism. It displayed time, planetary motion, calendrical cycles. When invaders captured the city, the tower was dismantled. The knowledge died with it. No successors rebuilt it. The vanishing of engineers. China's greatest machines appear during specific golden ages, then disappear. Why? Because engineers were not glorified. They were controlled. When dynasties fell, workshops were purged. Knowledge centralized, then erased. A familiar pattern. Advanced machines appear suddenly. They flourish briefly. Then they are destroyed. Not by lack of ability, but by politics, by collapse, by fear. The same pattern seen everywhere else. The uncomfortable conclusion. China did not slowly invent machines. It accessed knowledge, then lost it. Again. South America's machines without metal. High in the Andes, long before steel, long before the wheel was widely used. Stone was treated like clay, not carved, engineered. Stone that interlocks like machinery. At sites like Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, and Machu Picchu, stone blocks weigh up to 100 tons. But weight is not the mystery. Fit is. Each block interlocks with its neighbors using complex, multi-angled joints. No mortar, no gaps. Not even a blade can slide between them. This is not stacking. It is mechanical interlocking. Earthquake-resistant by design. A system modern engineers still struggle to replicate. Shapes that require PRE planning. Many blocks are polygonal, with 10, 12, sometimes 14 sides. Each angle matches a neighboring stone perfectly. This requires advanced planning, measurement systems, templates, iterative shaping. You cannot adjust a 70-ton stone easily. The shape must be known before final placement. This implies modeling, prototyping, or machine-assisted shaping. The myth of stone hammers. Official explanations claim stone tools shaped stone, but stone on stone produces fractures, not smooth surfaces. Yet these blocks show flattened planes, subtle curvature, machine symmetry. Some stones appear softened, as if molded. The ramp problem. How are these stones moved? Ramps alone do not explain. Mountain terrain, narrow paths, elevation changes, precision placement. Dragging a block is easy. Placing it with millimeter accuracy is not. This requires controlled movement. Mechanical advantage systems. Possibly lifting devices now lost. Vibration and sound. Ancient legends speak of stones that sang, of builders who use sound to move rock. Modern experiments show certain frequencies can reduce friction. Vibrations can affect material rigidity. Speculative? Yes, but legends do not emerge from nothing, especially when the results remain. The absence of metal, or its removal. Few metal tools are found at these sites. But absence does not mean non-existence. Metal is recyclable. Stone is not. After collapse, metal tools are the first to vanish. Yet the work remains. The machine mindset. South American builders thought in systems, not monuments. Drainage systems run beneath cities. Water pressure is controlled. Channels regulate flow. This is civil engineering. Mechanical thinking applied to stone. The impossible walls. Some walls curve, not accidentally, intentionally. Curved stone walls distribute stress, a principle understood in modern architecture, yet applied here without mathematics textbooks, unless the knowledge already existed. A lost technical tradition. Spanish chroniclers recorded native accounts. The builders were not their ancestors. They found the ruins, already ancient, already abandoned, already impossible. The unbroken thread. Egypt, India, China, South America, different cultures, same outcome. Advanced construction, mechanical thinking, lost methods. The machines are gone, but the results remain. The mechanical revolution that never happened. Ancient Greece stood on the edge of something extraordinary. Not philosophy, not art, a machine age. And then it stopped. Hero of Alexandria. The man who saw the future. In the 1st century AD, Hero of Alexandria described machines that read like modern engineering manuals. Not dreams. Devices you can build. And many were. He documented steam-powered devices, automated doors, coin-operated machines, pressure-driven systems. His most famous creation, the Eolipile, a hollow sphere, water inside, heated, steam escapes through bent nozzles. The sphere spins. This is a steam turbine, the foundation of the Industrial Revolution. built nearly 2,000 years too early. Why didn't IT change everything? The technology existed. The principle was known. So why didn't the ancient world industrialize? Because machines require economic incentive, social acceptance, political stability. Ancient societies relied on slave labor. Human energy was cheap. Machines threatened social order. So they remained curiosities, not systems. Automation in temples. Hero also described altars that lit fires automatically, doors that opened when sacrifices were made, hidden mechanisms driven by heat and pressure. To worshippers, it looked like magic. To engineers, it was control systems, feedback loops, valves, regulation. This knowledge existed, and it was used. The anticipation of modern mechanics. Greek engineers understood pneumatics, hydraulics, gearing, levers. They built machines for entertainment, religion, military applications. But they stopped short, not because they couldn't continue, but because society didn't need to. Roman concrete, a material machine. Rome engineered materials. Concrete that self-heals. Harbor structures that grow stronger underwater. This required chemical knowledge, material science, empirical experimentation. Roman machines built roads, aqueducts, and cranes. Complex cranes, lifting tons, using tread wheels and gear systems. This was industrial capability. The knowledge fragmentation. When Rome fell, knowledge fragmented. Libraries burned. Engineers dispersed. What survived were results, not instructions. The machines rusted. The principles slept. A global near-miss. Greece, Rome, China, India, all reached the brink. All stepped back. Not once. Multiple times. As if humanity repeatedly approaches a threshold, then retreats. The silent question. What if earlier civilizations crossed it, and we are only seeing the echoes? The machines hidden inside myth. When technology is lost, it does not vanish cleanly. It mutates into story, into legend, into myth. But myths are not random. They are memory, without manuals. Automatons before robots. Across ancient cultures, the same figures appear. Mechanical beings, not born, built. In Greek myth, Hephaestus forged golden servants. They could walk, speak, work. They assisted him like machines assist modern factories. In Crete, Talos, a giant bronze man, patrolled the island. He circled it endlessly. He followed programmed behavior. He was powered internally. This is not fantasy logic. This is machine logic. The golems and the code of life. In Jewish tradition, the golem was animated by inscriptions. Remove the symbol. The being stops. This mirrors control codes, activation sequences, fail-safes, symbolic language describing operational logic. China's mechanical men. Chinese chronicles describe artificial humans presented to kings. They could walk, sing, gesture. When dismantled, they were revealed to be full of gears and levers. The king was horrified, not amazed. Horrified. Why? Because the line between human and machine was crossed. India's yantras and sentinels. Indian texts describe mechanical guardians. They guard tombs, temples, vaults. They respond to movement, sound, presence. These are not statues. They are described as mechanisms. The warning is clear. Do not awaken them. The mythic filter. As technical language degrades over time, it becomes metaphor. Power becomes spirit. Energy becomes life force. Mechanism becomes magic. But the structure remains. The consistent details. Across cultures, these myths share internal workings, power sources, activation conditions, shutdown methods. Random imagination does not converge like this. Memory does. The fear of creation. Many myths in the same way. The machine is destroyed, sealed, buried, forbidden, because it was too powerful, too dangerous, or too close to life. The recurring warning. Ancient cultures warned against knowledge without wisdom, creation without restraint. Perhaps they learned this lesson the hard way. Say continue for Part 8, where we investigate cataclysm, global collapse, and the machines that may have been erased deliberately. Part 8. The erasure of the machine age. Machines do not disappear quietly. They are dismantled, buried, melted, or destroyed with intent. And history shows signs of intentional erasure. The day the world reset. Nearly every ancient culture speaks of a catastrophe. Not metaphorical, global. Floods, fire from the sky, darkened suns, falling stars. These are not isolated myths. They're synchronized memories. If an advanced machine age existed before recorded history, it would not survive such events intact. Infrastructure collapses first. Power systems fail. Maintenance stops. Machines become useless overnight. Floodplains and lost cities. The most ancient ruins lie where we least expect them. Under deserts, beneath oceans, below flood sediments. Coastal civilizations vanish first. And with them, ports, workshops, factories. The sea keeps its secrets well. Metal is the first to go. Stone survives. Metal does not. After collapse, bronze is melted. Iron rusts. Copper is scavenged. Within generations, machines vanish completely, leaving only stone structures and strange legends. Knowledge as a target. In many collapses, libraries were destroyed deliberately. Alexandria, Nalanda, imperial archives in China. Not accidental fires. Targeted erasures. Why burn books? Because knowledge is dangerous. Because machines empower people. Because technology destabilizes power. The priesthood effect. After collapse, survivors simplify. Technology becomes sacred, restricted, controlled by elites. Knowledge is encoded into myth. Ritual replaces instruction. Function becomes symbolism. This preserves memory, but not ability. The long descent. Civilizations do not fall instantly. They decline. Each generation loses a little more. Eventually, the machines are no longer understood, then no longer repaired, then no longer used, then no longer remembered. The final act, sealing the past. Some sites appear deliberately sealed. Flooded tunnels, blocked chambers, buried mechanisms, as if someone wanted to ensure this never happens again. A question that refuses to die. If ancient machines were erased, what was so dangerous about them? When modern science looked away, the rediscovery of ancient machines did not begin with belief. It began with shock, and then with silence, the moment of realization. When modern engineers first examined certain ancient artifacts, reactions followed a pattern. First, confusion. Second, disbelief. Third, dismissal. Not because the evidence was weak, but because the implications were too strong. To accept these machines meant rewriting the narrative of progress. And institutions resist narrative collapse. The Antikythera problem returns. Even after advanced imaging proved its complexity, the Antikythera mechanism was quietly labeled an anomaly, a one-off, an accident. But machines do not appear fully formed. They're the end of a process. Calling it an anomaly avoids the question. Where did the process begin? Uncomfortable engineering assessments. When machinists, not archaeologists, examine ancient work, their conclusions differ. They see tool chatter, feed rates, rotational symmetry, standardization. These are not artistic choices. They are machine signatures. Yet these assessments rarely make it into mainstream publications because they cross disciplinary boundaries, and boundaries protect reputations. Funding and fear. Research that questions foundational timeline struggles to receive funding, not through conspiracy, through risk aversion. Grant committees reward safe conclusions, not disruptive ones. When experiments go quiet. Occasionally, experimental archaeology attempts replication. Most fail. A few succeed partially. Those results are quietly shelved because partial success suggests full success is possible, and that is dangerous. The label of fringe. Once a topic is labeled fringe, it becomes radioactive. Careers avoid it. Journals reject it. The evidence remains unspoken. The human factor. Scientists are human. They built their lives on existing models. To dismantle those models would dismantle themselves. So the machines are reinterpreted, downplayed, isolated. The cracks are widening. But technology has changed. CT scans, 3D modeling, material analysis. The machines are being re-examined, and the results are consistent. Too consistent. The inevitable reckoning. Eventually, evidence outweighs comfort. And when that happens, the story changes. When modern science looked away, the rediscovery of ancient machines did not begin with belief. It began with shock, and then with silence. The moment of realization. When modern engineers first examined certain ancient artifacts, reactions followed a pattern. First, confusion. Second, disbelief. Third, dismissal. Not because the evidence was weak, but because the implications were too strong. To accept these machines meant rewriting the narrative of progress. And institutions resist narrative collapse. The Antikythera problem returns. Even after advanced imaging proved its complexity, the Antikythera mechanism was quietly labeled an anomaly, a one-off, an accident. But machines do not appear fully formed. They're the end of a process. Calling it an anomaly avoids the question. Where did the process begin? Uncomfortable engineering assessments. When machinists, not archaeologists, examine ancient work, their conclusions differ. They see tool chatter, feed rates, rotational symmetry, standardization. These are not artistic choices. They are machine signatures. Yet these assessments rarely make it into mainstream publications because they cross disciplinary boundaries, and boundaries protect reputations. Funding and fear. Research that questions foundational timeline struggles to receive funding, not through conspiracy, through risk aversion. Grant committees reward safe conclusions, not disruptive ones. When experiments go quiet. Occasionally, experimental archaeology attempts replication. Most fail. A few succeed partially. Those results are quietly shelved because partial success suggests full success is possible, and that is dangerous. The label of fringe. Once a topic is labeled fringe, it becomes radioactive. Careers avoided. Journals rejected. The evidence remains. Unspoken. The human factor. Scientists are human. They built their lives on existing models. To dismantle those models would dismantle themselves. So the machines are reinterpreted, downplayed, isolated. The cracks are widening. But technology has changed. CT scans, 3D modeling, material analysis. The machines are being re-examined, and the results are consistent. Too consistent. The inevitable reckoning. Eventually, evidence outweighs comfort. And when that happens, the story changes. The meaning of the machines. At the end of every investigation, there's a moment of silence. Because facts, when assembled correctly, do not shout. They settle. And what these machines reveal is not just a forgotten past. It is a warning. The lie of linear progress. We are taught that history moves in a straight line. Stone, bronze, iron, steam, electricity, digital. But the machines refuse this order. They appear early, disappear suddenly, reappear much later. Progress is not a ladder. It is a cycle. Rise, peak, collapse, repeat. The machines mark the peaks. The civilization before civilization. If machines existed before recorded history, then civilization did not begin where we think it did. It inherited fragments of knowledge passed down like relics, used without full understanding, until even that understanding faded. Technology does not guarantee survival. This is the most uncomfortable truth. Advanced machines did not save these civilizations. They did not prevent collapse. They did not stop floods, wars, or internal decay. Technology is not immunity. It is amplification. It magnifies what a civilization already is. Wise civilizations use it to endure. Unstable ones use it to accelerate destruction. Why the knowledge was sealed. Perhaps the ancients understood something we forgot. That certain knowledge spreads faster than wisdom. that machines in unprepared hands become weapons. That progress without restraint leads to ruin. So they hid it, encoded it, mythologized it, not to erase it, but to delay it. The mirror to our time. Look around. We are surrounded by machines we barely understand. Systems too complex to control. Technologies advancing faster than ethics. We stand exactly where they once stood. At the edge. The final question. If advanced machines existed before, and civilization still fell, what makes us different? Nothing. Except memory. And memory is fragile. The machines still speak. They speak through stone, through gears, through marks in granite, through myths that refuse to die. They are not relics of impossibility. They are evidence of inevitability, that humanity will always build, always forget, and always rediscover, unless we learn. This is not the story of ancient machines. It is the story of us, and it is not finished. The machines that may still exist. History assumes the past is finished, that everything ancient has already been found, cataloged, measured, explained. But that assumption is wrong, because machines are not always abandoned. Sometimes they are hidden, the places no one looks. Archaeology favors temples, tombs, cities, but machines are rarely kept in sacred places. They are kept where they are useful, underground, in mountains, near water sources, inside sealed chambers, places difficult to access, places easy to forget, sealed doors and forbidden zones. Across the world, ancient sites contain blocked tunnels, melted stone entrances, chambers explicitly labeled "Do not open," not dangerous, not unstable, forbidden. In Egypt, some shafts descend far deeper than burial needs require. In South America, tunnels run beneath cities for kilometers. In China, entire underground complexes were sealed and erased from maps. Why build what you do not intend to use? Ancient warnings, modern ignorance. Many inscriptions do not threaten curses. They warn. They speak of death from breath, fire without flame, sickness without wounds. These do not describe superstition. They describe exposure. The problem of power sources. A common argument is simple. Even if machines existed, they would have stopped working. Not necessarily. Certain power systems do not require constant fuel. Closed systems, gravitational systems, hydraulic pressure traps. If sealed correctly, they could persist, dormant, waiting. The devices we cannot touch. Modern exploration sometimes encounters anomalies. Magnetic interference, electronic failure, sudden illness, unexplained heat. These sites are labeled geologically unstable, then abandoned. No excavation, no publication. When discovery becomes a liability. Some discoveries are too disruptive to reveal, not because of conspiracy, but because of consequence. If proof of ancient advanced machines emerged intact, it would collapse. Educational systems, religious narratives, political legitimacy. So such discoveries are reburied, or reclassified, or never announced. The archaeologist's dilemma. Dig too deep, and you stop being an archaeologist. You become a problem. Most choose safety, not truth. The unanswered possibility. What if some ancient machines are not broken? What if they're simply asleep? The thought that should trouble you. We assume we're the first to reach this level. But what if we are only the latest? And what if the past is not as dead as we believe? Before the ice, before history. The deeper we look, the older the evidence becomes. Not just thousands of years, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. The idea that machines exist in the prehistory of humanity is dismissed. Yet traces persist, evidence buried in ice and earth. Beneath glaciers, researchers discover stone structures aligned with precision, cut rock unlike any known tools of the era, metallurgical artifacts inexplicably advanced for the time. Sediments preserve more than fossils. They preserve technology. Some tools show signs of shaping, drilling, or polishing far beyond expected capabilities. A civilization lost to cataclysm. Geological records indicate sudden floods, earthquakes, and global cooling events. Could these have wiped out an advanced culture, one capable of building machines? If so, it explains the sudden appearance of complex machines later, the absence of a developmental lineage, the mythology that survives, myths as history, legends of gods descending from the sky, and builders before time, may not be metaphor. They may record a memory of technology before humanity as we know it. The machine age of the past. If advanced machines existed before recorded history, we must reconsider the origins of engineering, the development of mathematics, the evolution of metallurgy, the very definition of civilization. Machines are not accidental. They imply knowledge, planning, and purpose. The collapse is universal. Every continent shows similar patterns. Sudden technological leaps, rapid disappearance, cultural collapse. The pattern cannot be coincidence. Something global, something catastrophic resets civilization multiple times. The fragility of memory. Stone, myths, and isolated artifacts are all that remain. They are echoes of a world we cannot fully reconstruct. Yet they are enough to ask one chilling question. What else lies buried? If machines existed before the ice, then what else did we inherit? And what else do we still fail to recognize? Recreating the impossible. Modern engineers have tried. Not in theory, not in simulation. In workshops, laboratories, and experimental archaeology sites. To reconstruct the machines of the past is to confront the limits of human ingenuity and imagination. The Antikythera rebuilt. 3D scanning, precision casting, and computer modeling allowed scientists to rebuild the ancient Greek analog computer. It worked, predicting eclipses, tracking planetary motions, performing calculations 2,000 years ahead of its supposed era. Modern engineers describe it as a complete machine centuries before its time. Yet this was only a reconstruction. The original craftsmanship still exceeds replication in many ways. Egyptian stonework experiments. Experimental archaeologists attempted to cut granite with copper and stone tools. Impossible. Introducing abrasive powders, controlled rotations, and guided mechanisms yielded results closer to the originals. The evidence is clear. Mechanical assistance was necessary. Yet no original machines survive. Only the evidence of their work. Automatons come to life. Ancient texts describing moving statues, mechanical birds, and water-driven temples inspired modern prototypes. Gears, cams, and pulleys replicate the motions. Water flow and counterweights animate the systems. Some move so smoothly that observers describe them as almost alive. The ancients achieved what we only thought possible centuries later. Lessons in design. Reconstruction reveals patterns. Use of simple materials to create complex motion. Redundancy and robustness. Integration of safety and feedback mechanisms. Modern engineers marvel. These are not toys. These were machines designed to last and perform reliably. The frustration of incomplete data. Every reconstruction hits limits. Missing gears. Unknown materials. Lost techniques. Sometimes, engineers invent solutions to fill gaps, but they cannot replicate perfection. The originals remain superior. Why this matters? Recreating ancient machines is not just academic. It forces us to question, how much have we forgotten? How advanced could humanity have been? Are there systems, knowledge, and devices still buried, waiting for rediscovery? The unfinished quest. Every workshop, every replica, every experiment uncovers a deeper mystery. The ancients thought mechanically. They acted precisely. They engineered for purpose, not spectacle. And in doing so, they left a trail we are only beginning to follow. The global pattern of lost technology. When we step back and examine history as a whole, a pattern emerges. Not isolated incidents, not local genius. A global recurrence of advanced machines, appearing and disappearing across continents and eras. Egypt, India, China, Greece, South America. Each region shows sudden emergence of precision technology. lack of developmental lineage, abrupt disappearance, cultural collapse, or forgetting. The similarities are too precise to dismiss. The sudden leap phenomenon. Historians call it anomalous. Engineers call it logical. The pattern suggests knowledge exists. Machines are created. Civilization misuses, ignores, or collapses. Machines vanish. Later civilizations rediscover fragments. This cycle repeats. Evidence in materials. Advanced metallurgy appears before known smelting methods. High-precision gears exist before known machining. Hydraulic systems function long before industrial hydraulics. The materials, methods, and outcomes all suggest intentional engineering, not chance. The role of catastrophe. Every cycle ends in some form of destruction. Floods, earthquakes, invasions, fires. After each collapse, the machines disappear, either physically or as knowledge. The survivors encode what remains into myth, ritual, or sacred tradition. The mythic evidence. Legends from across the globe echo similar themes. Mechanical beings, flying machines, self-operating devices, forbidden knowledge. Independent cultures record strikingly similar technological ideas, suggesting a shared memory or inherited knowledge. The implications. If this cycle is global and repeated, humanity is not on a single upward trajectory. Technology is fragile. Knowledge can be gained and lost on a massive scale. The machines of the past are evidence that intelligence, engineering, and creativity are ancient and recurrent. The unfinished chapter. Our modern era may not be the first or last age of machines. The past warns us. Machines are tools. Knowledge is fragile. Civilization can rise and fall around them. Throughout history, machines appear where they should not exist. From the Antikythera Mechanism in Greece, to granite precision in Egypt, to mechanical automata in India and China, and impossible stone engineering in South America, one thing is clear. Human ingenuity is far older and more advanced than conventional history admits. The pattern we cannot ignore. Advanced machines appear suddenly. They demonstrate knowledge far ahead of their time. They vanish through collapse, erasure, or forgetting. Later civilizations rediscover fragments, repeating the cycle. This is not coincidence. It is evidence of lost civilizations and forgotten technology. Lessons encoded in stone, myth, and metal. The lesson for U.S. today. Technology is fragile. Knowledge is powerful. And civilization is not immune to collapse. The machines of the past are not just relics. They are warnings. Progress is not guaranteed. Knowledge without wisdom can be lost. Humanity must learn to preserve and respect the legacy of ingenuity. The story of ancient machines challenges everything we thought we knew. Explore history critically. Question the accepted timeline. Investigate anomalies. And consider what other lost knowledge might still be buried, waiting to be rediscovered. Because understanding the past may be the key to safeguarding our future.